Hey everyone, welcome to another Jay Night Batrep. As before, my name is Jay, and today we'll be doing a game of Warhammer 40k. And I will be playing against my good friend,
Andy.
And Andy's, what army?
Eldar.
Eldar are going to be facing against my Dark Angels. So let's get to the armies and the scenario.
So here we have the 1250 points of Eldar army being led by the avatar of Cain. Next we have 8 Banshees with an Exarch with Executioner. I believe they also have Acrobatic, I believe it's called, which gives them counterattack. Here are 7 Fire Dragons. These guys are pretty nasty and can pop basically anything they want. Next we have 2 squads of 6 Pathfinders, one in the front and one in the back, represented by these skull guys. I believe they are some conversion. Here are 9 Dire Avengers. Here are 10 Guardians with a Warlock and Scatter Laser. And here are 10 more Guardians with a Warlock and Scatter Laser. A lot of guys for 1250 point list. And 3 Warwalkers with 2 Scatter Lasers each. These guys can pump out a lot of firepower. Here is the Dark Angels army. Leading the army is a Company Master. You'll probably recognize all of these models from the Dark Vengeance starter set. Also leading the other HQ is a Librarian. He has a Force Sword, I believe. Up next is a 10-man tactical squad, led by a sergeant with a plasma pistol. There's also a plasma gun and a plasma cannon in the squad. Here's a 5-man Deathwing Terminator squad. They have a Force Sword on the sergeant. There's an assault cannon. 2 of them have power fists and one has a chain fist. And they will be in a Land Raider with 2 twin-linked las cannons and a twin-linked heavy bolter. And finally, we have a 3-man Ravenwing squad led by a sergeant, and there is 1 member of the squad with a plasma gun. These guys will be scoring in the upcoming scenario, and they're very quick and they can zoom around, so I will use them to their advantage. And finally, 1 more 10-man tactical squad, and same as the other squad, with a plasma pistol on the sergeant, a plasma gun, and a plasma cannon. I will be combat squadding both squads in this game. We roll for scenario, and we roll a 4, and here's Andy describing the scenario.
Mission 4 is the Scouring.
Excellent, I will remember that one. Which is what?
Fast attack choices can score, but also count as a victory point if killed. And the primary is 6 objectives. 1's worth 1, 2 are worth 2, 2 are worth 3, and 1 is worth 4 victory.
So here are the objectives. Now we won't get to see which objectives are worth how many points until after deployment. We roll for deployment and roll a 2, which means Dawn of War or normal 12-inch table sides for deployment. We then roll off to see who chooses what side, which is not the same as going first. I roll a 5, he rolls a 4, so I took the side that I was currently on. And here's us putting out the objectives on our sides. We divided up the objectives without knowing how many points each one is worth. And I put all of mine very close to my table edge, as I wanted to guard them and have him come to me. Interestingly, he did basically the same thing. And here's what the table looked like after we had put in the hidden objectives. Again, we don't know how many points there are because they were facing downwards. He put one of them in the center of the table, and basically all mine are near my table edge with one slightly outwards. Next we rolled Warlord traits, and he chose Personal and rolled a 6, which made his avatar a scoring unit, which is pretty sweet in this scenario. I also chose personal, and I rolled a 4, which means legendary fighter, which gives my leader an extra victory point for every character that I slay in a challenge with my HQ, who is Balthazar. Next, I rolled for my psychic powers for my librarian. I chose divination, and for my first roll, I rolled a 2, which gave him forewarning, a really nice blessing. And for my second one, I rolled a 5, but I ended up choosing the Primaris power, Prescience or Prescience, which is equivalent to the Eldar Guided. So here's my librarian with his 2 cool psychic powers. And finally, we rolled off for first turn. I rolled a 1, Andy rolled a 5 and chose to go first. Here's us deploying. Andy chose to infiltrate his Pathfinders and put his Warwalkers in reserve. He put his Guardians with the scatter lasers along the very edge of the table and hid them behind terrain so they can pop out and shoot things if they want, but have a good cover save if I shoot at them. And he put the fire dragons right behind a set of boulders, right in front of an objective, so if I go near them with my guys, they'll jump out and melt them. And finally, he put his banshees and the avatar right in the center of the table. To me, they were the scariest thing, so I wanted to deal with them first. Then it was my turn to deploy. I attached the librarian to one combat squad. As I mentioned earlier, I combat squadded both tactical squads, so to have 4 scoring units. I attached Balthazar to one tactical squad, which I put them in the center of the table. I attached the librarian to a different tactical squad and put them close to the Balthazar squad. Perhaps foolishly, I stuck my bikers in the center of the table near a lot of his firepower. I kind of forgot that they were scoring for a moment, and in lapse of judgment, kept them there. And finally, I put the Land Raider towards the left of the table to give it a nice clear path, or what I thought would be a clear path to get to the opponent, where hopefully the Deathwing would do a lot of damage and contest objectives. So here's what the battlefield looked like after deployment. As you can see, I basically just lined up all my squads in a nice straight line, 12 inches from the board edge. Most of them have access to some cover if I need it. And here's Andy's side, all within pretty much scoring range of objectives, except for the one in the center, which, as I said earlier, is being guarded by those fire dragons right here. There's the scariest thing on the board, with the avatar surrounded by banshees. And he is going to be infiltrating in just a moment with those squads. We then reveal the scoring points of the objectives. I got, unfortunately, very unlucky. I got a 1, a 3, and a 2. While Andy got a 4, a 3, and a 2, so he can stay at his side, and I'm in a little bit of trouble, and I have to go to his side or contest to win this game. He then infiltrated his Pathfinders, one squad into that building right there. They're not actually on it or behind it, they're in it. And another squad into shooting range of the closest combat squad, the very far left of the table. And finally, I try to seize the initiative. I use the epic dice, but I roll a 1. So, now that you've seen the deployment in the armies, who do you think will win? My Dark Angels or Andy's Eldar? Leave a comment in the comment section down below. And when you're ready, click on the link below to go to part 2 of this J-Knight Batrep.